thanks, Mark, for coming and give us time. We are very appreciated. So I will tell about myself. I am a landscape and cityscape photographer based in Qatar, and that's it for me.
Yeah, I'm Mark. I'm a landscape photographer, an astrophotographer. I also do some types of commercial photography. I do the odd wedding, but mainly my passion is for astrophotography and landscapes, seascapes, that type of thing. Really, to be fair, anything. I like any type of photography. I'm not master. I'm probably do little bits of everything really. I try and learn everything. I'm trying to learn time lapses at the moment. So that's what I kind of do. To be fair, I like it. I like all types of photography. There's no one thing that I'm trying. I'm not a one-trick pony. I try and do all sorts of everything really. A bit like Imran, really.
Now tell us about how you got into all this. What got you into photography in the first place, and how did you maybe find your passion into astro? Because I know that's something that you really love, probably more than anything.
Yeah, I think I had a discussion with somebody a few weeks ago, and I used to do landscape photography all around Lancashire and the Lake District because I'm not too far from the Lake District, and it was just always Blackpool seascapes or catching the sunsets or the sunrises. And then one day I got stuck in a place called Ribblehead Viaduct, which is quite in the North Yorkshire moors, probably near towards Bradford. And we got stuck. And my car broke down and it just wouldn't start. It didn't. Just the battery wouldn't start. And basically the AA kind of was about 3 hours late. And when I got out of the car, there was just all these stars everywhere, and it was kind of addictive from then, really. So I carried on taking photos while he was fixing the car, and that's where the passion came from, really. But photography was when my daughter was born, Maisie, who's 10, just taking pictures of her growing up and kind of doing that every weekend, really. And then obviously the love for photography grew and grew and grew, to be honest. And it's all self-taught. I'm not. I think I've done one RPS course, but that was a couple of years ago. So everything I've learned is kind of trial and error, which is the best way, I think, to learn. Maybe.
Yeah, I think you come from a similar group like myself, where we just found the passion, just like this from, like you said, just taking pictures. And it's an interesting point you mentioned there. You've just taken a picture of your daughter growing up. I want to ask, is that something you did with a mobile phone to start off with, or did you actually get a DSLR or some sort of camera and start taking pictures, or did it start from mobile? Because nowadays, I mean, if there's some sort of advice you could give to new people nowadays, you don't really need to venture out into DSLR to start. You can start with mobile phones because they are really good nowadays. But how was it for you when you started?
I think, I can't remember, like we're talking 10, 15 years ago, so technology has really changed since then, but I think it would have been the iPhone, or not the iPhone, I can't think what I had. I think I had a Sony or something, a Cybershot, I think they were called. But the first camera I had, and I had it for a long time, was a Nikon D3 1000, and I think they're about £200. And even now, if I could look back at my photos, for social media, realistically, I would still say there's not much difference. People put so much onus on a camera, and really the hardest part, as we know, is, and people say it a lot, is going to the location or getting in the right place at the right time. That's what you should learn. This is the best sensor. This, you've got to see a photo, not make it with a camera. So you can have all the best cameras in the world, all pointing, all in a line with their tripods. And
I'm going to come on to my next question. Talking about filters, you are an ambassador, or were an ambassador for the company.
Yeah.
Or I'm not sure if you still are. Can you tell us?
Yes, I am.
About that?
FormatHiTech. Yes, I'm ambassador for those. I think with most companies at the moment, it's a little bit quiet with the lockdown in the UK. I think everything's kind of back burner at the moment. I think still learning and still doing websites and doing bits and pieces, but I'm in the process of doing a book at the moment. So for me, that filter is really good because it's called Britain by Night, and it's basically so it's called Britain by Night, and basically I've done 90 locations in the last 12 months, and every time I did 90. So I've done all over UK. All over the UK. So I've done Scotland, I've done London. If you look, whenever I did a job, or whenever I did a wedding, or whenever I had a job or anything, it had to be near a nice location. So at Christmas I had a a wedding in Loch Lomond in Scotland, which was near certain places that I could take a picture of. So I did a wedding in Glasgow, which was near Glasgow city centre, and I kind of did a wedding in Croydon, which was near London. So everywhere I've done a wedding. I did a wedding in Norfolk, and basically those weddings were kind of paying for me to travel the country and do the stuff that I kind of love, if you will. So, but the night filters helped in some of the places. So London, for instance, where the O2 Arena. I wish I could show you a picture. I'm not too sure if we could share pictures on here, but there's a couple on Instagram that you can, if you want to use. But so basically, with this filter that I've got, it's a light pollution filter. It just helps that little bit much. It's not so when you go into cityscapes and you're going to, I would say when I've been all around England, that a lot of the places now, Imran, is the lights have changed. They've gone to these neon ones. So they're really bright. But if you go into somewhere like York, I did York Minster, and everywhere is completely orange, you know.
Yeah, we're still using the older kind of.
Yeah, and those filters just help you to achieve what you're trying to achieve. Like, also, like where we live in Lancashire, it's the same, and the Lake District. So these filters, probably where you are, is it Dubai where you are, where they just help. They just help get the final goal.
This filter, it will reduce the temperature of the light, or it will just, I mean, what is the purpose of this filter?
It removes
this nighttime
it removes I think it's called this, I'm not too sure, but I think it's sodium that which they get from the orange light. So if you're in a new city or you're in a new place, or those lights are normally neon. Where we live in England and most places in Europe, they've got like a light bulb, not a little LED light, so it helps reduce the sodium, and it just makes the image a little bit cooler. I think a little bit slightly colder image, to be fair. And it looks better at night time, to be honest.
It just basically gets rid of a lot of the orange and all that kind of stuff, and like Mark just said, it makes it look a lot cooler. But what also happens is with these older lights and these bulbs, you get a lot of gases and things like your eye can't see, but the sensor can pick them up sometimes, especially with long exposure. And that makes your image a lot more noisier and a lot more light polluted. So these filters actually help eliminate these things, and it makes it look a lot cleaner. And I will say natural, but some people may disagree simply because what our eyes see is not the same as what the filter sees. So we're not used to it sometimes, and sometimes people say, "Oh no, it looks too different." It's because our eyes don't use that same filter technology that the filter is doing to the camera. So the camera is actually bringing the trueness of the whole situation of it out. So even if you hold it up to your eyes and look through it, you can see a little bit, but not the full effect as what the camera will see. That does it a lot better.
Sometimes when you're taking a long exposure, maybe 30 seconds, it's very bright, you cannot do anything in your pictures, so you have to come down like maybe 25 seconds, 15 seconds. But if you go more than 30 seconds, the picture is very bright in cityscape. So maybe that filter helps to reduce the light,
It all depends as well on the purpose as to why you're doing the long exposure in the first place. For cityscapes, it's quite good. I mean, what Mark is using it a lot for, like astro as well, if I'm not mistaken, Mark.
Yes, I use it for astro stuff, and cityscapes. Cityscapes are, as Imran would say, that what I've started to do when I do my my cityscapes is I've started to use so rather than go for a lower f stop, I just do what I would normally do for a landscape. So f11 or f8, ISO 100, and then you've got that, because when you do cityscapes, you're not necessarily bothered about the stars moving. It's all about the city. It's
That's
not.
Correct, yeah.
It's not about, because what we worry about when we take a picture of the stars is we worry about the movement of the stars. So when we do a cityscape, we should be doing the best settings, which is better for the setting itself. So ISO, as low as ISO you can go, f11, the filter on, and you could do a minute, because you could do a minute or whatever you want to do, because you're not too worried about the movement of the stars. Also, if you do a minute, you'll get the star trails. I went to a place the other day and I met with one of Imran's friend, a guy called Craig, and we went to on the side of the M62, and we took a shot. I'm not too sure if it's a bit. I think I posted it the other day.
Is it on your Instagram?
I think so. Yeah, it's
Can
but
we scroll down a little bit?
Not too sure. It's these are just ones. These are all the lockdown photos at the moment. These are
All
these are
right.
the stuff
Yeah.
that I'm learning in the garden. But if you go down a little bit further, I'm not too
Keep
sure.
going down.
Yeah.
There'll be like a motorway, I'm guessing. Is that the one, Mark?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
Oh, did you do the one?
There's the O2 Arena there. You can. So if you go back up again,
Just a few pictures, Azim.
yeah, if you go back up a little bit, one more, and you can just see the O2 in
There it is.
London.
Yeah,
And
yeah, perfect.
if you click on that one, I'm not too sure if you see it, but just where my finger is halfway up above the lights, you can see Orion, which you wouldn't be able to see.
Which one?
That
So
one
this
there,
one
you
here,
just
it's got
hovered over
it's
it.
got a spike. So
The O2 Arena.
O2
That one,
Arena,
yeah.
This one,
That one.
yeah, that one, yeah. So nobody would do
That
this.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the one, yeah. So nobody's doing it. I don't think you can see it, but round about here in the middle, you can see the three dots halfway up, which is the part of the Orion's belt. So,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Can you see that, Imran?
I can't see on my. I'm actually talking to on my mobile, so my screen is tiny as it is.
Right. So,
I'm sure
can you
the
see?
computer.
Can you see my mouse moving about, or is that?
No.
Well, anyway, if you think where the tower block is, and say
Yeah.
the middle spike, well, halfway
Yeah.
up there's three dots, and that's the Orion. So to get Orion over the O2 was nearly impossible. You couldn't do that
I
without
was gonna say, I'm being in London with that kind of light pollution. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So if you took the night filter off, you would be what you're saying is it would be overexposed
Yeah.
because it's
You
just
won't
so
get it.
bright, and there's
Mm.
laser beams. There's this new night thing that goes over a cable car. And
That's right.
at the first shot I took, it just wasn't usable. You couldn't use it for anything. So this filter, they do help, and that's quite a natural colour. That's really not edited, to be fair. As Imran knows, I try not to edit them, or
Yeah.
basically I can't. Yeah, so
We're getting there slowly.
yeah, I'm getting there slowly. Yeah,
Reflection, it's
That's
reflection
how it
is
is.
very nice. You can see the colors on the reflection.
yeah,
Yeah. It's beautiful, is that? Very,
yes.
very, very impressive image. There it is. Yeah,
Oh,
we can see that.
Brilliant.
I can't get this down a little bit, but this is a picture I took. If you forget that, the bit on the right hand side, on the left hand side, sorry, but that's me stood under the tree there. That's the Andromeda Galaxy, and above that
Milky
tree
Way.
is the Milky Way. So I've made it black and white to make it look a little bit different, really. But this picture was taken on a tripod, and basically a series of photos because I was doing a time lapse and I was flashing the torch up in the air and standing underneath it and standing still, and about 500 shots over the night, over the 3 or 4 hours, and I got some really good ones, and I got a time lapse and stuff. And
Do you want to tell us about the location, Mark, and what it is
yes,
about?
sorry, yeah. So it's
Sycamore.
called the Sycamore Gap, which is at Hadrian's Wall, which is in Northumberland, UK. I think it's famous for a lot of battles. It's the National Trust site, but it was also Robin Hood. I think it was famous for Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner was having sat under there a lot of times. It featured in the film a lot, so that's why it got quite popular, to be fair. And I think it's
Also, there's another thing. I'm just gonna sorry about that, Mark. Just for the guys who haven't seen this image. If this image, if you look at it on a wider scale, you do have like where the tree is. It's like the center point of like two hills on each side. So
Yeah.
it kind of comes down. Hence, it's called the gap. So it's like hill, and it comes down like this. So it's like this, comes down, and then goes back
That looks
up
like
again.
a picture.
And that's where that tree is. I've actually been wanting to go here myself for so long, and I still haven't been. So I'm pretty jealous of Mark
yeah.
actually going there. But then, and then obviously something really, really amazing happened to Mark. Do you want to just carry on telling us?
Oh, for this one,
Yeah.
Brian Cox retweeted it. It said it's one of the most beautiful pictures he's seen, but it got highly commended in the 2018 Astrophotographer of the Year, so it's in a book. Yeah,
That's one of the biggest. It's one of the biggest awards in around the UK as well, isn't it? The astrophotography. It's like the landscape photographer of the year. So
it
it's
is. Yeah,
pretty big. It's a big deal.
I think there was 50,000 entries. I think, and I think I was in the top 10. I think highly commended is quite a good
Top nine.
achievement. To be fair, yeah.
And then to get it in the book as well, I guess a
In the
big deal.
book,
So
yeah,
done.
it was in the museum in an exhibition for best part of 6 months. And what they've done is because it was the 10-year anniversary, it would travel the UK. So it was in the museum. They had the Liverpool Museum, so I took my daughter Maisie. That was really good, really proud. I had some photos with her next to it. So it wasn't just based in London. So all the people it went to a place in, I think it was Skipton, I think, or places like that. And they had it like a travelling exhibition. It was quite a good idea, really. So people all over the country could go and visit, really, rather than just be in London, which is a quite expensive way to go or get there.
Okay, I have
I
one
love how
question,
you
Mark.
compose that image. It's quite nice. I mean, you've got it in the landscape, the portrait format, and it just looks stunning. How it just falls into place nicely. You know, when you look at it, your eye goes bang onto the subject right in the center. I
It's
mean,
just
to do that in black and white is a very good choice. It's not something I would have thought of myself if I'd done it. Because
I
Milky
think
Way, we're used to seeing the Milky Way in color in its full glory, but this just everything adds to it, I think.
yeah, I think what it is I've not seen many images in black and white from the
It's
space
not an
from
easy thing to
space,
do.
and I thought, you know what, I'll just try it, and it it stuck out. To be honest, it's kind of
Mm.
it looks like an album. They said it looked like an album cover or something, um, something godly, if
Mark,
you will. I'm not too sure.
how much post processing you do in this picture, or just, I mean, little bit or too much post processing?
Do you want the honest answer? Just just made it black and white. That's
That's
it.
it.
That's it.
Wow.
One click,
So
make
Wow.
it black and white.
just so you know, guys, Mark is actually, when Mark says he doesn't do a lot of editing, he actually means that he doesn't actually do a lot of editing. He
No,
he gets a lot of it right in the camera. He's
that's
blessed
what.
like that, so
That,
he's very good at doing it in
that's
that
what
way.
I love.
Yeah.
That's what I love. Originals mean original. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
What
there's preferences. There's preferences. We all have preferences.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I don't know if I mentioned it when I did my thing, but the way I shoot is a bit different. I shoot with flat colors and then
Yeah,
I add them back in post a little bit. It's how
yeah,
I like to do things, but I don't oversaturate. I just bring them back because I
yeah,
can capture more detail that way. Again, it's a habit I have from when I do filming.
yeah,
Like when you film in log profile, because I can't shoot in RAW on filming in my camera. So I just have it set on that. Sometimes I forget to take it off, and then
yeah,
I just add it back in. And I do it to learn as well, to learn how colors work. And it's something me and Azim are actually talking about right now. Just learning how, complementary colors and all this style kind of works as well. But I think Mark does it again for what ease of use for him as well. Again, he's a father of three beautiful kids, and it's very
yeah,
difficult sometimes to sit down there and
Yeah.
get editing. I mean, even like with me, sometimes it becomes very difficult. You come home, you want to back up your data, and then you spend time with the kids, but you want to do some editing as well.
yeah.
And you have to balance it, and it gets kind of tricky sometimes. So
Very,
it's okay
very
for
tricky.
having
Yeah,
that, but
very, 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 very tricky. And also, Imran, what happens is when you've had a long day, when you back up the computer, when you spend time with your family, by the end of the night, your creativity goes.
it goes, yeah,
It
it does
just,
because you've done all the hard physical work. You just want to relax maybe and just chill out and maybe spend time with your kids. But there
yeah,
is times when I've had it myself where you've got a great shot and you just want to edit it, and your kids are doing your head in because they want to play with you. They haven't seen you, and then you're like, look, just go away for 10 minutes. Let me quickly edit my shots. And
yeah. Well,
it makes me feel guilty sometimes. And then I'm like, well, which comes first? The
yeah,
kids or the editing. Obviously, you're not prioritizing. You don't love your editing more than you love your kids. But sometimes it's that moment, I guess, that brings that out in you. But yeah, I think you've done it a good way where
I
you've
think,
learned to do
I
it
think
better.
my tip would be for people is that you might be different, Imran, but for me, sometimes with everything in life, like a seesaw, whether it be food, whether it be drink, whether it be life, if we go just that too much, we got to kind of. So if you edit a photo, and this is my preference, but if you edit a photo and it takes any longer than 4 or 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. I've looked at pictures that I've edited and thought, God, what have I done there? The sky goes all wonky, and you've got to get it in your moment and try and do it as quick as you can, because you can overstep. You can go with the
Of course you can. You've got to know when to stop, draw the line.
You don't know when to stop. So if you set yourself a little limit of about 5 or 10 minutes, you can I think they look better, but that's just my personal preference. And there's people who edit photos and they look amazing, but that's their type of
editing style.
Yeah, each to their own. But this is what I kind of like. I like a picture that I post to say, "There's a shot I've took."
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? That's a shot.
I mean, your style is quite distinctive as well. I guess it's similar with your vlogs as well. They're quite easy recognizable, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, because
another thing as well.
Because nowadays, Mark, people like if you go to the astrography, they do the stacking. They take the picture of foreground separate. They take the sky separate, and they do lots of post processing, compositing, And your picture is just like one shot, and it's amazing.
Do you know when you enter an image into Astrophotographer of the Year, you aren't allowed to. You're not allowed. You're not allowed to. You're allowed to stack images, but you've got to say that what the process you've done. You can't take a picture from one day and have the sky and add it on, because they want the raw files. They want to know, is that Astrophotographer of the Year or is it Astro Photoshop of the year?
Yeah.
They want to keep some. Keep some. What's the word? I don't know what the word is.
It's not like original. It has to be pure.
Yeah, original. To be fair. Yeah. But also as well, what I would say to you is that people, for instance, I don't know how I get out of this window to how I get off this picture. It's not letting me get off it for some reason. Wait there.
Try escape.
Yeah, it's gone black now.
It's gone black here. We can see a back screen there.
Oh well. Wait there. 1 second. No,
Mark and technology.
What?
Mark and technology. The two don't go together.
No, do you know what? It was doing it before. This is why I don't edit photos. I can't even get a photo to work.
Azim, how does he bring the screen back so we can see his face?
Can you see my face?
Yeah.
You can see my face.
Yeah, I see your face.
But I want to get my. I want to get.
All I can see is a black screen.
Yeah.
You can turn it off and on again.
Wait there.
You can turn it off and on again.
Here we go.
Mark.
Right. So.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Right.
It's fine now.
This. I'll get you this picture here. Not that one. I know how to do it now. I'm getting tricky at this. Look, see, give me a couple of seconds and I'm. That's a HDR, but this one here, this is one shot.
Wow.
So this is one shot, and what I would say is at the top of it, it's probably not as sharp as we've seen images, but that's at 500 mil, and that was at ISO 100, 1/500th of a second, so really fast shutter speed.
Wow.
And also, what I would suggest to you, if anybody wants to take pictures of the moon, and your camera, take it off metering mode and put it onto spot metering.
Oh yeah, so it exposes more on the center than anything else, because that's what you need.
Yeah, because basically what it is on the picture, you will have 90% dark and one little spot, which is the moon, which is really bright, and your camera will expose for the whole picture.
Yeah, it does this.
So as soon as you put it on spot metering, it exposes for the moon, and then you can go to f11. You go to a really fast shutter speed. But what I was going to say about the stacking and stuff, and people getting really high definition images, this is quite blown up. But I did it the other night where I'm trying to learn, and I stacked 30 images on Photoshop and did different processing. And to be honest, I've put them side by side, and for social media and looking on a computer, the difference is minimal, to be fair. Maybe it's just my stacking, but I think we want. I don't think you get much more detail than that, to be honest.
You had another image just there, Mark. The other one of the moon. It looked like it's in color.
This one.
It was a full moon. No,
Can you
no,
see
it
that
was a
one?
full moon. I can see that one, yeah, but it wasn't that one. Not that one. Keep going. It was like that, but bigger.
This one. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that one. Is that
So
is that?
So this image, what I did for this processing is it's a really good process that you can do, that anybody can do really. If you've only got, I don't know what people use if you use Lightroom. So basically, I took 3 shots, all in quick succession, so 1/500th of a second, and then simply it says edit in HDR or panorama, and you just edit in HDR, and it adds those 3 images together. So you're basically stacking, but it's just in Lightroom. You don't need a fancy program. But this, I think, it was when you go onto Lightroom, so you don't touch saturation. And further down, you have the separate colors. So you have reds.
Yeah.
You have the
HSL.
oranges. Yeah. And what you will do is you just turn the blues and the magentas, and it picks up the colors of the iron ore, and that's the actual, very similar to what the actual colors of the moon look like. So all the minerals are on the moon.
Yeah.
And if you do that, if you touch the saturation switch, as you know, the moon will go bright orange.
Yeah, because you're doing it universally all over.
Yeah. And if you go low saturation, it goes black and white. But if you target the colours, it's amazing to watch. Even if you have a small picture of a moon and just use the sliders and target certain colours.
Coming back to when you took the shot, Mark, you said you took 3 shots. So are we talking similar to, like, it was a bracketing where you took one at low, one at the right, and then one at high to capture the detail? Is that what you did?
No, it was just 3 separate shots the same. So they're just 3 shots of the moon just to try and add some noise reduction. And it has got a little bit, that's all it was. Just
They're
to
all
try
at the same exposure.
all at the same exposure, yeah.
Okay.
So then it stacks them, and it just reduces the noise a little bit, so you get more detail on the craters and stuff. So it would be just like stacking in Photoshop, really, but just a simple. If people don't have Photoshop and they want to learn it, that's the kind of process I did. It might be correct or it might not be correct, but the result speaks for itself, really. It kind of.
Well, I was going to just say, I mean, I don't really think there is a correct or non-correct way, because, you're mentioning Lightroom. That's something that I actually hardly use.
Yeah.
I only use Lightroom for certain things, and that is it. If I'm doing any sort of developing or anything like that, for me, it's Photoshop. Regardless, it's Photoshop.
Yeah.
And Lightroom has its own purposes and cataloging, and I use that totally separate altogether. But then, yet there are people, like yourself, you can create amazing images like this in Lightroom. So there's no really right or wrong. Again, it comes down to preference, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. There's no right or wrong. I think if you get the good clear skies and you get, I mean, for instance, I'm blessed at the moment because Nikon themselves have sent me this 500mm to lend as long as I want. But previous, I've got an old vintage eBay 400mm 5.6 AI lens, which cost me £35.
Wow.
And it fits onto my new camera with an FTZ adapter. And the images, obviously the moon isn't as big as this, so it's because it's a 400mm. But the results you can get are just amazing, to be honest. So the better equipment really helps, but in modern day of life, or sharing images on social media to show, if you can't afford, because most people can't afford £3,000 for a lens.
That's right, especially if you're starting out. I mean, that's your whole kit. You have to try to get your whole kit in like less than £2,000. I get people asking,
Yes,
can we get a camera for like 100 quid?
Yeah, but the process is, what I would say to people is, rather than investing all the gear and the cameras, you need tripods, but you need technique. So you can have the best tripod in the world, but you put it on sand, or you have a tripod and you don't use a shutter release and you don't wait long enough. So you can have all the equipment and all the correct. So you can have the best lens in the world, you can have the best camera, you can have the best tripod, but if it's not on somewhere hard, or it doesn't make a difference really. So you can take just as good as shots with the rubbish equipment, or the lesser equipment, I would say, but as long as you're using the correct methods. So you can take amazing shots with lesser stuff. So I had a D700 a couple of years ago, and that's a 12 megapixel camera, and I went to the Lake District with it because people said they're really good, and that would stand up against a D4, a D810, a D850, because the file sizes are a lot better for social media. So it's a 12 megapixel camera, pixel camera, and they don't need to be resized. So when you post that image, it's not squashed, and they look better. No, they look better on social media. So
a very good point. A very good point.
Yeah,
because that's the question a lot of people do ask as well. This, like when you put on social media, why do some images look crisp, or why do some look good? Is there any sharpening involved? Is there this and is there that? And there's so much to consider, especially with the compression algorithms that keep changing on Facebook and Instagram. You have to sort of like, if you were a purist in that sense, you would have to really know the compression rate for Instagram and for Facebook, and actually export at those precise settings for each one. And it's not practical, because then you can have, X amount of images for every single platform. Every platform uses different ones. Because I mean, top of my head, you got 500px, you've got Flickr, you've got Facebook, you've got Instagram, and there's probably a few more. It's not coming to my head right now, but if you're going to be a person that tries to save to every single one, it's just not practical, because you're going to have so many images of so many, just one thing. You're talking about space on your hard drives and stuff like this, and it's not practical. So if you kind of refine that, like what you've just said, it might make it easier. That one simple file can work for many of the platforms, rather than you faffing about with, a 50 megapixel camera or something, and you're only uploading it for Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you've got a 50 megapixel camera, it would be good if you had an art gallery, or you wanted people to look at it.
Yeah, and you're printing it out in high resolutions and stuff. So you have to really know what gear works.
It will be very stupid, It will be very stupid if you have a 50 megapixel camera and you're taking picture only for Instagram. It will be really crazy.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that I know people like that. There's this thing about hoarding gear that I have a fascination. Farhan, you share something similar like what I do. We like good cameras, we like good lenses, but there's a reason, is because our job demands it. So we have. I'm only saying this, Mark, because Farhan has got the new 1DX Mark III, and he's beat me to it because it wasn't available in Dubai because of the COVID and the lockdown came in. So the last two that they had were sold, and I was waiting game. But I thought, I'm not using it that often now, so I'm not bothered. So I'm kind of jealous of Farhan now anyway, because he's got a new one. But his if you look at Farhan's work, his work demands it. He does a lot of commercial style photography and action and sports and stuff. So he needs that for his advantage. To serve the purpose. And similar to me, it's like, we get it. So if we're given any assignment, we don't say no, because we know the camera can do it as well. But it's also knowing how to use that camera effectively, because I use the same camera to do, stuff for Instagram and stuff like that. But I don't, when I post my images, every time I take an image, I normally, before I take it, I look at what the value of this image is going to bring me. Meaning, I only put it on Instagram or Facebook to show people what I've taken.
Yeah.
My main purpose of that image is for resell, to sell it. And then I show it. There's people who actually do it the other way around. And I know many of them, even here, that I've talked to, they say, I go, why are you taking that shot? You've taken 3 already. Oh, it's for Instagram, it's for Facebook. And that's one thing I've never really understood is why are you shooting for Instagram or Facebook? I mean, how is that actually helping your purpose in terms of like, you're not really
likes and followers.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I don't know how that results. I mean, they may have a plan in place of how that results into monetary value and how turning that around. But I mean, personally, I don't know how that is and how they're doing it. And good luck to them that they are. But we know it's very, very hard to get onto that kind of side of things with photography and social media. There's so many doing it now. And trying to achieve those numbers with the algorithms continuously changing, it becomes so difficult. I mean, I don't know, what was the impact like on your social media once you, I mean, I know you told me about the image before you announced it, Mark, I remember, and you told me to keep it quiet and keep it a secret. Do you remember?
Do you know what? If you look at my Instagram, I think I've got 1,200 followers, I think, which is naught. Yeah.
No, of course it is, but again, we don't do it for that purpose. The passion is different.
But when I won, I had an Instagram with 20,000 followers, and I deleted it.
Okay.
I deleted it simply because people were going back to look at food pictures from 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and I kind of didn't like that. And I kind of got people were going back liking pictures of my wife or pictures of the kids, and it was a personal Instagram that went on to be something massive. And ideally now, and what I would say is, even though I had 20,000 followers on my Instagram, the interaction was really low.
Yeah.
So
because they only went for that one image for that one purpose.
Yeah. So, but now I've got a smaller following, and when I post the images, the people who like my photography, not just people who like Instagram. So when I post an image now, it gets a lot more likes than it did. So even though I've only got 1,000 followers, I'm getting like over 150, 200, 300 likes on some photos.
Yeah, that's right.
Before I had 20,000, I would struggle to get to 100. So just because you've got a lot of followers, it doesn't mean you're popular. It doesn't mean people like you. It just means that you've got people following you, if you will. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense. Twitter, I found, so I've kind of stepped back from that. I've kind of stepped back from. I like posting on social media, but I also, what's the word? I like taking photos. I like to see the kids, and everything else is a bonus. To be fair,
I know exactly where you're coming from because I deleted mine at I think 30.
You chase all the time.
It became that, and for me, it was honestly for me it was hard to keep up, and I was like, I'm not doing this for that purpose.
No.
And I used to get questions and all sorts, and it's like, guys, I genuinely don't get time when I'm out. A lot of the questions I used to get was behind the shot, images, and try to take a shot with the mobile as well when you're there. But for me, it's like when your attention starts going towards your mobile, and you're trying to get that shot for the Instagram, you could potentially miss the light. Something I we touched on earlier, and the purpose you're actually there for goes, and you've wasted the opportunity. Well, you're there busy taking a picture of your camera and your lens and stuff, but then you forgot to take the actual shot that you need.
Yeah. So if you, for instance, that same sort of thing, if any of you want to click onto my YouTube channel, it's very similar to that, where I go out, I don't plan any vlogs. I think, oh, this is a nice location. I'll do a vlog, and it's always pieced together like a mishmash, if you will. And then sometimes I went to Penmon, and I was having such a good time taking the photos that I forgot to do the vlog. I can see someone's phone now.
That's mine.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I tend to do is I was doing the vlogs and not concentrating on the actual. I probably won't even find me now. Well, I wasn't concentrating on the job in hand, so I wasn't doing the photography. I was trying to do a vlog, and if you try and do, well, I won't come up. Look, mine's got two L's.
Apologies.
It's all right. There we go. Look, that was my last one when I looked like a fat Pete McKinnon. Look, black t-shirt and tattoos.
I
He
know, at the
actually,
mad hairstyle.
he actually he actually put me on one of his videos the other day.
Let's show people what it looks like so they know what they're looking for. So as you can see, I'm already subscribed,
Yeah.
and I'm already subscribed to all the videos.
Yeah.
So that's what Mark's channel looks like. If anyone wants to give him a follow, please do. He's actually quite humorous. I really do actually enjoy looking at Mark's or watching Mark's videos. It's quite funny. He's not the serious kind of guy. He's not like you can watch him and have a laugh, and I think I love that aspect about him.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy it.
I think I remember once, I don't know if I was talking to you, Imran, but I always try and say that when you go to a karaoke bar, this is going to sound really funny, but when you go to a karaoke bar and you try and sing somebody else's song, you always sound really rubbish.
Yeah.
Right? If you
Because
sing
you're not
your
being
own,
yourself.
if you sing your own song, you're going to nail it.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
it's you, isn't it? You're being yourself.
Because it's you. If that's the one, that Nightscape film. But just basically me having a laugh, and it's just a diary really. So when my kids grow up, they can kind of see what I was kind of up to be honest.
See, I
But
like what you just said there. I mean, your subscribers have gone up quite a bit, actually. I like what you just said there, Mark, where you said when my kids grow up, it's like a diary for them.
yeah,
You know, you've not how do I stop sharing my screen? You've not said, "Oh, I'm doing it for the world or for anybody else." And
no,
that's a really it's beautiful. I just love what you said there, and it's quite amazing. You're not bothered about the numbers. You're not bothered
no,
about
because
the
if you're bothered about numbers, you've lost. We took
yeah.
photography up to
Everybody's allowed.
you took photography up to capture beautiful images, not. And this is what I'm saying about you need a break sometimes, or you need to
Yeah.
remember why you love photography. You're doing it. If you start doing it, try and get more and more followers, or you're sharing stuff every day. Yes, on Twitter, or you want to promote your business, which is going to get you more work. Fair enough, but when you start getting into the YouTube or the Instagram, posting
For
every
the wrong
day,
intention.
going up in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, posting, then you've kind of it takes over, and you don't want to do that. You want to be just you.
It becomes it becomes a farce in itself, doesn't it? It becomes like a job in itself, and then this is what I tell people. I mean, when we come back to the editing side, I discussed this with the guys in the last one. We talk about what are we? If we're photographers, we probably shouldn't. And again, this is subjective, so some people may disagree. We shouldn't be putting too much attention into that sort of stuff because we're not social media people. We're photographers, and like what you talked about editing, for example, right? And I can actually relate to that. You know, the timing bit. You've chosen your time not to be more than maybe 10 minutes or such. For me, it's about it started off half an hour because I was learning. Then how I did that was I found an image and I knew what I wanted to do to it. So I started editing at my normal speed. I saw how long does it take me and what have I done? How much difference has it made? And then my target was to now let's try to learn shortcuts or better ways to bring the time down but keep the same results. So I managed to bring my half an hour down to 20 minutes, 15, and now I can do it in 10 minutes. But now I can shoot at the same time. I'm learning both ways because sometimes there's things where you think, you know what, that setting I should have done in the camera, not in editing. So now I know that that's another 5 minutes shaved off my time. I'm not editing. So now it's come down to I can put it, I use Adobe Bridge for my organizing and all that stuff. So I can now just use Camera Raw, which is what Lightroom is based on, do my simple tweaks in there, and I don't even need to use Photoshop. So it's come to a stage where I will cue my images, and I only put them into Photoshop as an action to put my logo or signature on there. That's it, nothing else, and export them for the websites.
I only use my Photoshop to put a white border on because I don't know how to do it in Lightroom. That's it.
I don't know if you could do it in Lightroom. I'm not even sure.
That's it. So, but what I'm trying to say is, so for instance, like so let's talk about when we first started, or when everybody first started. You would get the camera, go to the Lake District, or you go to wherever you go to, and you would get the camera out, and you'd be like Rambo, taking
by the way.
a lot of shots, and then you would take, say, 500 shots, and out of those 500 shots, only 3 of them would you like.
Sometimes only one.
Sometimes only one. Sometimes only one. So what I've learned to do now is I've learned to go on Google Earth, go onto Google Maps, check the weather. And when I go to a place now, the Lake District, before lockdown, I went to a place called Thirlmere, and I was there for 2 or 3 hours, and I got 2 absolutely belting images, and that's all I took. So the process of going home, I only had 2 images to look at, and both of them was a case of, because I got the Nikons, removing all the dust spots, and I went when it was raining. I've started to go out when it's raining now, which sounds really weird, but I'm the opposite to everybody else. Everybody wants the beautiful skies. I want a bit of
atmosphere and drama.
Yeah, mood and drama in the Lake Districts, and that was kind of it. Getting rid of dust spots and getting rid of rain marks, and that was kind of it. And that's my processing. But as you grow and you progress, so even when I did weddings, when I first started doing weddings, Imran, and what I would do is I would take a load of shots. Where now I have a little list, or a little list in my brain, that I would take 10 shots or 20 shots for bridal prep, 10 shots for the guys getting ready, 10 shots of flowers, 10 shots of rings, and before you know it, you've got your numbers up. Not walking around like an headless chicken taking a load of photos and ending up with 2,000 or 3,000 images to look through. And you're actually processing. You're doing your editing in your head.
You are. You're editing for the finished product, for the album. You know exactly. You also know if you got the shot, rather than you don't have this thing in your head. Did I get that shot? Do I have to do that again? Shit, I missed that. Oops. I missed that shot. You're not doing any of that sort of stuff because you know you've planned it out. You know you've got it within your shots. And I know you're saying 10, but it never goes that high. But you take a few. And it's done. And that's an excellent way to do things. We're coming on to the last part, Mark. If we were to say to you to give us some sort of like tips, or it's sort of like how do you say this now? It's a simple question. I don't know why it's not coming out.
I want to ask a
Advice
question.
for newbies.
Go on, you can ask a question.
Yeah, we want to ask one question.
By all means.
Yes,
you can ask as many questions as you want.
He's not going to charge you.
I have a question. So I have a question about, as I never do astrophotography ever before. So do you recommend any sort of app or any sort of cheat sheet to track down the weather and how you can get into your location? And my second question is about composition. How you can compose your shot at night? Because as per my knowledge, whenever you do astrophotography, it's too dark. So in dark, how can you compose your shot?
That's two very good questions.
Yeah, well, the first one would be weather. I use an app called Clear Outside. I'm not too sure if you can get it. It's really good, and it's really what's the word? It's normally right. It's normally right. It's accurate. Sorry. Yeah. So Clear Outside is a good app, and if you've got Mac, Android or iOS, it's called a Nightcap app, and that tells you if the sky is really clear. So those are the 2 apps. Use BBC Weather or any sort of news channel for my weather apps. They're your bog standard one, but check a few. Don't just check one, but make sure you check a few. Also, as well, for your astrophotography, this is what I'm saying about technology. The first thing you should do when you get a brand new fancy camera is turn all that technology off. For astrophotography, you don't need it. So turn off your noise reduction. You turn off your lens. You turn that off. You turn everything off that the camera is trying to achieve. So your long exposure noise reduction, so if you took a 30-second shot, it takes another 30 seconds. Take that off straight away, because that takes stars away. So it will take away stars. So that's what you do. Your lens, what I suggest is that during the day, if you have a lamppost that's, say, 200 meters away, just practice getting that focus point on your lens, because every infinity point is different. So if at night time, when you're fumbling down, when you're trying to find the spot, make sure that infinity point is kind of where it is. Sometimes it's just past what it's meant to be. And if you can get that camera through live, so when you get your camera and your lens, zoom in with live view, so 2 times, get that focus bob on, and if you leave a bit of Tipex on the top, so at night time you know where that white mark is, You can see quite easily.
That's a very good explanation that you tell us that off everything, Don't put your camera on auto. Put everything on manual.
You don't need
you
all
don't
that
need
stuff.
it. Yeah.
But again, it comes back to Mark's philosophy and what he said earlier on about, you know what you want from the shot.
Yeah.
The camera doesn't know. The camera thinks it knows, but the camera will try to do what the camera thinks. But the camera's not controlling you. You're controlling the camera.
Yeah.
Hence, once you take it all off and you only dial in what you want to use, that's the whole.
Yeah, very good explanation, Mark. Very good explanation.
Yeah. So if you go into your camera now, Sony's, or they've got noise reduction, it's called. So if, for instance, if you were doing a star trail and you had the normal camera and you were shooting in manual, you would do a star trail and it would take 30 seconds to do that shot. And then it takes another 30 seconds to process that shot. So in theory, if you set your camera up to do a series of shots, you're going to have a 30-second gap in every shot. And that's why you get the gaps in your shots. So you want everything from the stars, you'd have to try and use gap filling or something like that. So, and your manual as well, your focus, it might look like it's sharp, but I think as well, most cameras, I've got a Z7 and a Z6. I did have a D810 for a long, long time. And the thing with mirrorless is, I do find it a lot more difficult to focus at night time. An older camera, when you look through with your eye and you get that, and you're tweaking the lens, it seems a little bit easier to focus because a lot of the newer lenses are focused by wire. So when you're turning them, you've got a macro sign and you've got a little a tree sign, haven't you, or mountain peaks.
Yeah.
It's doing what it thinks is right. It's doing what the computer thinks is right. So you've got to turn it off, put the focus peaking on, so the stars come blue or the red or whatever colour you've got, and use your kind of, forget the computer side of it, use the basics.
Use your eyes. Use your own processor, like you said earlier on. Use your own,
Also, as well, for your composition, if you can get on the camera, most cameras have got built-in levels. Just try and, I would say that for composition, you can also, what you can do is flash a torch on your subject first. So light it up or keep the head torch on, but keep it maybe red if you've got a red colour, because it's better for your eyes. And then compose the shot and then take all the torches off, really. But always try and use a red torch if you can, because also as well, when you get our mobile phones out, we all do it. You've got to keep them in your pocket when you go somewhere really dark, because it takes about 15 minutes for your eyes to get used to the dark. So with what you're saying about composition, if your eyes are used to the dark, then when you go to a really dark place, your eyes will be a lot better. So if you're walking around with your mobile phone, doing your photo pills or trying to find the Milky Way, you won't be able to see anything for a good 10, 15 minutes, or you won't be able to compose your shot properly.
Very, very good point there, Mark. Some very, very good points. I think that's going to wrap you up just about there. Thank you so much for your time, Mark. We really appreciate that. Is there anything else you guys want to ask or add?
Yeah. Also, as well, with your tripods and that, just let me tell you about your tripods. With your tripods, try not to lift your center column up, because a lot of people do that. They think it's the steady, but the most minute movement will just ruin anything. Again, you can have a 50 megapixel camera. You can have also. I've seen so many pros. These are pros, and they have the straps on the cameras. Yeah. Take them off. Take everything off. You want that camera to be, because it's blowing about in the wind, and you don't want anything to move your camera, because although you're doing a long exposure, the slightest movement will make a really good picture.
It picks it up.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you guys want to add, Farhan, Azim?
No.
No.
That's
it's really nice to meet you, Mark, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. And also as well, my last tip, which is the best one, keep taking photos. Practice. Take them every day. Yeah. Take photos of your kids. If you can take a picture of a flying bird, right, going past, you'll laugh. A seagull, if you've got seagulls, or crows. If you can take one of them, razor sharp, you can take pictures of anything.
Yeah, that's the hard one.
It's honestly, God's honest truth.
Yeah.
Practice on things. Practice on things you can practice on. Even in the back garden, we're in. I can't even go out of the house. Well, I can go out of the house, but we're very, we can go in the garden, for instance. And I've took some of the best star trails and some of the best moonshots in my back garden that I've took, because you have to do with what you've got. You've got to kind of you haven't got the best situation. It's not like going to the darkest place in the world. You have to use your brain a little bit more. You have to think.
Yeah. Good. Right. I think we shall call it a day, call it a night, or whatever you want to say. Thank you so much for that, Mark. It's really,
No
really
worries.
good to see you. Good to hear from you and see your pretty face again. It's
Yes.
been a while, I know.
Yeah.
We'll call you again.
Hopefully next time I talk to you, I've got a bigger beard.
Good evening. I'm going to get to
Right,
bed.
take
It's
care.
pretty late over
Thank
here.
you so much.
Yeah,
Have a
take
great
care. Have a good
night.
night.
See you, inshallah.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye.